Good evening. You are listening to the Fumblerooski podcast, powered by Power 88 and sponsored by Secret Weapon Consulting. Now, you probably know this already if you're listening, but I'm CJ Medeiros, our resident draft guy, and with me is my favorite Ravens fan on the face of the earth, Mr. Justin Tucker. Tuck, how are we doing today, man?
I'm doing good. I'm doing all right. Not too bad. Still got a lot of work to be done, but let's get into this draft stuff.
Yeah. I just want to point out to all our listeners, good old Tuck is a senior,
Yep.
and we're gonna miss him.
And I'll miss this award winner right next to me.
Thanks, Tuck. So, now this is an exciting time, especially for me, because we're going into draft coverage. And for those of you at home may know, I'm a big draft guy. And I can say that because Adam's not here now. So we have some fun topics. We're going to talk about Anthony Richardson's best fits, teams that are threatening to trade up. But first, we're going to answer the question on everyone's lips. Bryce Young or CJ Stroud? Who's better? Who's going number one? So, Justin, what's your take on that?
To be honest, I think either or could work. I was always a Bryce Young guy, but that CJ Stroud guy is creeping up on me. I still think if anybody should go first, it should be Bryce Young because of the accomplishments and the feats. But as far as like ability and overall production, either or I could see going for first overall. I know if it's the Carolina Panthers, this one's more of a tricky one because I always thought that CJ Stroud was going to them if they ever had the opportunity. But now that I'm hearing about Bryce Young being their guy, I don't know what Houston's going to do. So, to be honest, I'm still a Bryce Young guy. I don't care about his height. I still think he'll be successful in the NFL. But this is a tricky one.
Yeah, I agree. And frankly, I like both Young and Stroud as quarterbacks. Now, you look at Bryce Young, his NFL comparison is Drew Brees. And let me tell you something, though. This guy is the definition of pro-ready. Comes from a pro-style offense at the University of Alabama. He's known for his fourth quarter comebacks. He can manipulate defenses. He's got great pocket mobility and some good speed on him. He can reroute receivers. He's very accurate. He's everything you want, you know?
Mm-hmm.
He's polished. He's seasoned. You could throw him on out there if you're the Panthers and draft him. But there is the question of his height. Now, that's an ongoing debate about whether or not height truly matters as a quarterback. But he's 5'10" and hovering somewhere around 204 to 200 pounds. And here's a fun fact. Since 2003, no quarterback weighing fewer than 207 pounds has been drafted round one.
Mm-hmm.
And he's very slight, and they say there could be some durability issues there. But I really don't know because remember way back when all those draft experts were saying Joe Burrow's very risky because, and I quote, his hands were too small. And now he's a top 5 quarterback in the league. So sometimes the analysts are wrong. It can be a little silly. What do you think, Justin?
I think it's silly. I'm sick and tired of talking hand sizes. I mean, to be honest, if you can hold a football and you can throw it and you have not much discomfort, hey, hand size doesn't matter to me. I could care less about that. What I care about is your accuracy, your capabilities, and your overall potential. That's what I care about the most. Everything else I could put aside, but those are the 3 things I usually look for.
Yeah. Me personally, I'm going to put all the cards on the table. I'm a CJ Stroud fan. I really am. And no, not because, we're both named CJ. Ha, funny. But seriously, I'm trying to think of how to put this. He's a game manager, but he can put the team on his back. He's got a great arm. He's got good accuracy, great techniques. He can go through his progressions. and he's extremely accurate, even more so than Bryce Young, and just puts the ball on a rope. But I want to point out he can be a game manager, which I think shows maturity, that he's not always trying to play hero ball 24/7. So we have both the quarterbacks here, all cards on the table. Justin, so play GM here. You're the Carolina Panthers. You traded up to number 1 overall, and you have your pick of the litter. The world is your oyster. Do you take Bryce Young or do you take CJ Stroud? And keep in mind, I'm not asking you who you think they will take. I'm asking you who you would take.
Oh, for the personnel that's surrounding them, if I was the Carolina Panthers, based on everything that's surrounding them, I would take CJ Stroud.
Yeah, honestly, I'm inclined to agree.
Mm-hmm. You can't go wrong either or.
Yeah. CJ Stroud, it's just, I know there's a supposed Ohio State curse, but I truly believe CJ Stroud is the best quarterback that they've put out in a decent bit. Probably the best quarterback they've ever put out. In terms of a prospect. And keep in mind, although I wasn't on the show when he was drafted, I was also a big Justin Fields fan. So, me personally, I like CJ Stroud. But Bryce Young's pretty good too. And the Texans at number 2, no matter how you slice it, I think they're going to get it's a good consolation prize. Because whether it's Stroud or Young taken first, you've definitely got a good one coming down the pipe at number 2. So the Texans, I really don't think have anything to worry about.
I don't know. If they don't get Bryce Young, they could trade out of it because apparently they're not sold on CJ Stroud. They only want Bryce Young.
That's stupid.
Silly to me.
Also, I've heard that too, and I've heard that they might take Will Anderson or just trade back. Mm-hmm. That's silly. That's just ridiculous.
All because they
really
won an extra game.
Why? Why don't they like CJ Stroud? Do we know?
No. Not off the top of my head, no.
Good Lord.
I don't know why they're just stuck on Bryce Young. But I think CJ Stroud is a good second place, is it not?
I would argue personally, I'm on record saying that I like him better than Bryce Young.
That's what I'm saying. So either or, you should be getting a franchise quarterback out of those two.
Either that or I feel like it's all just smoke or something. I really don't know.
I hope so, because number 2 overall, and they decide to go Anthony Richardson. Oh, my.
Oh, wow.
Oh, my.
That's not something I even thought of. If they go Anthony Richardson at number 2, ooh, now that. And keep in mind, Anthony Richardson, we'll talk about him in a sec, really interesting player. But he's going to take some time to develop. And if you draft him that high and the project fails, that could very well cost a GM his job.
Fair enough.
Yeah, Justin agrees. So yeah, you know what? I think we've talked this to death. Young, Stroud, both good. I think we both lean towards CJ Stroud. Yeah. But we're going to talk about another quarterback coming up, and that is the controversial Anthony Richardson. Not controversial for anything he does off the field, controversial in play style and in consensus. So you're not going to want to miss that because we're finally going to really unpackage this once and for all. So don't go anywhere. This is the Fumblerooski podcast.
Here's Edelman broken up, and the pass is no sign yet. Edelman comes down with a football. They're saying it's a catch. This is caught. Diggs! Sideline! Touchdown! Unbelievable!
Welcome back. This is the Fumblerooski podcast by Power 18 Radio and Secret Weapon Consulting. I'm your host, CJ Medeiros, along with my good friend Justin Tucker. No Adam Wright, but we can run a pretty respectable show. So
I think so.
Oh, thank you, Justin. See, Justin's 110% on board. So now we talked about CJ Stroud, we talked about Bryce Young, but now we're going to something a little bit different. Anthony Richardson.
Step right up.
Oh, boy. Now, I mentioned that he's controversial. It's not about character. It's not about off the field. He seems to be, a very good guy, good locker room guy, but people are split on him. So here's the deal. He's a physical freak. He's 6'4", 244 pounds, running a 4.43 with a 40.5-inch vertical jump. That's insane for a quarterback. And you could argue that he's got the best arm in this class. I mean, he's got an absolute cannon. Mm-hmm. He can throw a 50-yard bomb for a touchdown, or he can do a 50-yard scramble for a touchdown. He's that good. But his weaknesses, we'll dive into those real quick. He's very inaccurate. I think he had like a completion percentage of, correct me if I'm wrong, I want to say about 54%. Does that sound about right, Justin?
Sounds about it.
Yeah, 54% completion percentage. He struggles with his progressions, often staring down his number one receiver. He just throws the ball like a laser every play. Definitely needs to take some spice off it. This is for the NFL website. Quote, needs to take some spice off his short throws. And I agree. And another thing that worries me about him is that he has a lot of trouble reading defenses. His touch and placement, just manipulating coverage, not a fan. And oftentimes he throws into danger. Now, for me, I see him as a very, very raw prospect. He is the project's project. But let me tell you something. If you develop him right, the reward will be insane.
Mm-hmm.
Far and away, Anthony Richardson has the highest ceiling in this draft, but he also has the lowest floor of the big four quarterbacks. The big four being Stroud, Young, Richardson, and Will Levis, who we're actually not really touching on, but that's okay. Anyone who leads that appeal is not a quarterback in my book. Yeah, he does that. Look it up. So, Justin, what do you make of Anthony Richardson?
Oh, man. Where do I even begin? I think he is the third best quarterback in this draft, even better than Will Levis. Yes, I think that. I think overall, what he brings with the tools and his ability overall, I think he can be the best quarterback in this draft, but he can also have the potential to be the worst. That's just either you hit or miss with him. I think he is a project quarterback. I don't think he's as bad as the tape tells. I think that there's things that he obviously needs to work on. And I think over time, if you give him like an off season or like a full season to work on it instead of just throwing him into the fire, I think he can iron it out depending on the system and the personnel you put around him. And I think within 1 or 2 years, I think he can start producing for you at the highest level. It's just a matter of how much time you're willing to give him and how much time are you going to let him stride for.
Yeah, you know what? I think that's a very good point. I do. And the thing is, he's, like I mentioned, very raw, and Justin mentioned that as well. And I've said it once, and I will say it again. I truly believe that Anthony Richardson should have spent another year in Florida.
Another year in Florida? You really think so?
I do. If he stays for one more year and comes out the next year, I would like him a whole lot more. Because, like I said, he's too raw. I mean, like I said, you could single-handedly land the best quarterback in the draft, but if you screw him up, it's going to cost the GM his job.
All right. So what if the Patriots draft him at 14?
Don't mention that. I don't want a quarterback in this draft. It's not even Anthony Richardson.
Not want it, but he might be
do not want a quarterback.
You may not want it, but he might be there. You might have to take him.
Why? He
Because,
doesn't fit our scheme. And Bill's not going to change it for him. He's going to jam a square peg into a round hole. You know it, and I know it.
I don't know. He may not fit all the way, but I believe he'll have some reliable checkdowns from the two tight ends set. So in case he does get into trouble, there's obviously checkdowns for him.
Well, we're not going to talk about that for fear of me having a heart attack. Although we'll see on draft night because, us Pats fans can relate. Bill Belichick is very creative at finding ways to rip our heart out on draft night. Believe you me, I am aware of this. So yeah, I'll admit, not the biggest Anthony Richardson guy, but the potential's there. Like I said, strong arm, amazing dual threat ability, and if he learns to read defenses and just gets a little more accurate, it's over. And also, one thing that I wanted to mention about Anthony Richardson is that you have time to develop him. As it sits right now, he's 20. And by the time the first season rolls around, he'll be 21. So chances, which is another reason, kind of why I wanted him to stay in Florida. So if he takes a year or two to develop, worst case scenario, he's 22, 23, which is a really good age to draft a quarterback, and you might already have yours.
Mm-hmm.
But that's if he pans out. See, it's all a big game of if. Mm-hmm. And another thing that I wanted to touch on with Anthony Richardson, and Tucker kind of brought this up. He said he could go to New England. I am dead set against this. But that does raise a very interesting
question. The Boston area.
What?
Just let him go to the Boston area. Let him come on, enjoy him.
Hey, if we end up getting the next big thing, that's great. I'll admit I'm wrong, but I'm still sold on Mac. This is obviously Mac's put up or shut up year. We'll see. But boy. Until then, jury's still out. But Justin did bring this up when he talked about Richardson going to New England, and that is, what are his best fits? We gave you the rundown. Tucker and I gave you the rundown on Anthony Richardson. We talked about his strengths and his weaknesses, but where should he go? And I don't know about you, Justin, but I'm seeing a lot of mock drafts saying that Indy takes him at 4, or they do a pick swap with the Cardinals to move up to 3 and take him. I won't lie. This isn't an indictment on him, but I don't like the fit of him in Indy.
I don't like him there at first. I think they need to get a veteran quarterback to just shore that up. If they get a veteran quarterback for him to sit down a year, I think that's a very underrated place for him to go. Because they have the line, they'll have the weapons, they'll have the defense. So I don't think that's a bad place for him to develop.
Where I think could be an interesting place?
Where?
The Vikings.
Again, they already have a quarterback.
Kirk Cousins is on the last year of his deal, Justin.
He is.
I mean, feel free to Google it.
I don't need to Google the guaranteed deal that Kirk Cousins has.
Well, let me tell you a little something about Kirk Cousins.
Top 10 quarterback in the game. Talk to me.
I'm not Adam Wright. I'm not going to get into this with you.
All right. Let's continue.
I know you and Adam go round and round on this, but you will not bait any such debate out of me.
I didn't think
I'm wise to your tricks. See, Justin, you are crafty, but
I didn't think it was debatable.
No. I'm not playing this game with you. You're smart, I will grant, but I'm just going to stay away. I'm not touching that argument. That's a you and Adam thing. All right. As I was going to say, Kirk Cousins, his deal expires in 2023, and he's 34. He's average. You're not going to win anything with him. So why not have a young, explosive guy behind him, behind the offensive-minded Kevin O'Connell? I'm just saying. It makes sense. And then when he's good and ready, you'll have a Dalvin Cook for him to throw to, the best receiver in the game in Justin Jefferson, a top 5, arguably top 3 tight end in TJ Hawkinson and O-line that's getting a little better, and you got a serviceable wide receiver 2 in KJ Osborne. And if Anthony Richardson can reach his full potential, that offense is going to be terrifying. What do you think?
It could be. I think it has the potential to be terrifying. I still think they need more weapons because I think they're missing like wide receiver 3 since Thielen left.
Yeah, that's a good point. But let me tell you a fit I don't like. I've seen a few mock drafts suggesting this. I'm seeing the Titans move up to number 3, leapfrogging the Colts, and
they already have a quarterback. I don't see them taking another one again.
But you can't. Well, if you're a Titans fan, you can't be happy with Tannehill. You just can't be.
I don't think they are. I think they're just hoping Malik Willis will pan out.
Do you really think Malik Willis is going to pan out?
If they do something different within that offense, that he could. I think they need to spread it out more.
Yeah. So Malik Willis is interesting because he was, I want to say, a 3rd-round pick last year, right?
Yep. He went in the 3rd round.
Yeah. So I was never the biggest Willis fan, but in 2022, oh boy, like I said, 3rd-round pick, had a completion percentage of 50.8%.
Yeah.
Threw for 276 yards, no touchdowns, but 3 interceptions with a rating, a passer rating of 42.8.
Mm-hmm. Is that in 2 games or in 1 game?
He played in 5.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he played in 5 games.
That doesn't mean he started 5.
I don't know how many games he started, though. I will admit. I know what he played in. I think he started at least 2.
Yeah.
And in those 2, I think he went 0-2. And in games where he does play, he's 1-4.
Hopefully he's taking more strides. But if they really don't believe in Malik Willis, they could. They could.
Yeah.
But the real question is, what are they going to do with Derrick Henry? Because I heard that he's on the trading block.
Yeah, you know what? We'll pivot to this real quick. I mean, I don't want to get too much off topic, but yeah, the Derrick Henry situation is interesting because let me tell you something. Mm-hmm. They want a haul for him. They want the premium, but you just don't trade for 29-year-old running backs at a premium. You just don't do that. This isn't the 90s.
But if there was a running back you would do it for, it might be King Henry. Because he's the only.
I don't know. Christian McCaffrey was arguably the best running back last year, and what did they get for him? Like a 2nd?
Yeah, I think they got I think it was like a 2nd-round pick. But
I don't know.
King Henry.
Titans can demand as much as they. I mean, look at Austin Eckler. Austin Eckler is probably the 2nd best dual threat back in the game, a top 10 running back to say the least. Obviously. And his market is bone dry after he requested a trade from LA.
Yeah. I wish the running back market was better, but it just is what it is. They don't last long, and they don't.
Yeah. Well, let me tell you, a running back that can give you 800 yards and 5 touchdowns in a season, those are like a dime a dozen. And that's unfortunate because when you look at the great running backs of the past, just to see how replaceable that position has become, especially in a pass-first world, it's something else. And that's why running backs tend not to go the 1st round unless they're a really exceptional talent.
Yeah, that's why we're giving B.J. Robinson so much credit.
Yeah, that's true. So, yeah, I mean, we don't want to get too off topic, but that's just our 2 cents. So, long story short, Anthony Richardson, I like the Vikings. And Tucker, where do you think he should go?
I still like the Colts. I don't think it's a bad place to go if they get a veteran quarterback because I don't think he'll start.
Yeah. So we've gotten all the quarterback controversies out of the way, except for Will Levis. That's not a controversy. He eats banana peels, and I don't like it. So before we leave, we're going to touch on teams that could trade up because the Cardinals are more than likely going to surrender the 3rd overall pick. And could your team trade up? Nobody knows. That's the fun. So don't go anywhere. This is the Fumblerooski podcast.
Here's Edelman broken up, and the pass is no sign yet. Edelman comes down with a football. They're saying it's a catch. This is caught. Diggs! Sideline! Touchdown! Unbelievable! Swings it way down the field to Watkins. Sammy Watkins for the touchdown!
You are listening to the Fumblerooski podcast by Power 88 Dean Radio and Secret Web Consulting. I'm CJ Medeiros with my good friend Justin Tucker. And now we've reached our final segment, which teams could trade up. Now, let me give you some background. So, the Arizona Cardinals currently sit at number 3, and all signs are pointing to them trading back. So that is just something that I find interesting because we've heard that like 6 teams have called the Cardinals about trading up. And at this point in time, I probably put money on it they're going to trade back. So which begs the question, which team will trade up? What do you think, Justin? I'll let you go first.
It's difficult because sometimes you look at a team and go like they need a quarterback or a year or so they'll need a quarterback. But at the same time, do you see them taking a quarterback this year? For an example, you brought up this point. I think the Vikings, I could see them trading up for a quarterback now. I'm not sure if it'll be Levis or Anthony Richardson, but I could see it happening. Whatchamacallit? There's a few other teams that elude me.
Perhaps the Titans?
The Titans, I don't see them trading up. I see them trading picks, but I don't see them trading up. I think they can add a first-round pick, but I don't see them. For the quarterback position, I assume they would, but at the same time, I'm just not used to them doing it.
Yeah.
I can see the Saints trading up.
Perhaps. Even with Derek Carr, though?
Yeah, I could see that happening. And besides, I could see them trading up to get a quarterback that they need and then saying, like, 1 to 2 years later, if Derek Carr doesn't pan out, they can just move on to Anthony Richardson or Will Levis. So I could see that happening. I don't see Oakland trading up. I don't see any other teams trading up right now.
Yeah.
Maybe Seattle.
I don't know. They did give Geno Smith a pretty big deal.
Yeah, but that's only a 3-year contract. That can easily be, dealt with.
But with more money on the back end?
Yeah. It really, I could see it happening. I'm not saying they're going to do it, but I could see it happening if it's for the right quarterback.
Yeah. I think so. So,
right. Who you got?
Like I said, the Vikings are one to watch out for, but here's something. Do you think that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers could make a run at number 3? I mean, no more Brady. You signed Baker Mayfield, and you also have Kyle Trask. Oh, boy. Don't those names just inspire confidence?
Mm-hmm. I don't see them trading up now. I think they want to see with what they got. I think they'll stay. But next year, if they don't like what they see, I think they go quarterback. But I think they're fine for right now.
Yeah. Let me tell you something right now. Do you know, it's not even if they will, but do you know who should trade up?
Who?
Hear me out, the Colts.
Oh, brother.
Why? Why?
No.
Why do you hurt me in this way?
They're
Huh?
four.
No. Hear me out, okay? I have a reason. May I explain?
Let me hear this.
So here's the thing. I'm not saying it'd be a smart move because I don't know what the Cardinals are going to want in return. But if you're the Colts, this is a move done sheerly out of caution because we all know that the Cardinals will, like I said, at this point, I put money on it, that they will trade out of the 3rd overall pick, barring some shocker. So here's the deal with Indy, all right?
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, it's a move out of caution because you can bet your bottom dollar that Arizona is going to trade back, and you cannot run the risk of a QB needy team, like I said, like we mentioned, the Vikings, maybe the Titans, leapfrogging you. Because let's just say you're the Colts and maybe if your sight's on Anthony Richardson, then boom, you get leapfrogged. Anthony Richardson's gone. Now do you settle for Will Levis or what? So I'm not saying like it'd be a smart idea, but I'm saying just to be safe, they probably should. Because Justin, once again, I need you to put your GM hat on. Do you run that risk? Do
yes.
you run the risk of a team leapfrogging you to potentially take the guy you want?
Yes.
Explain.
Listen, I am not giving up like a 3rd and a 4th just to trade up to get another quarterback. I'm more of collect the picks and we see how this thing goes type of guy. I'm not giving up picks needlessly if I'm at number 4. If it's number 2 or number 1, maybe we can have this conversation, but not at number 3. If I'm right next to him, and it depends on who's trading up for who.
I don't know. Let's just say Vikings trading up for Anthony Richardson.
The way I see it, let's see CJ. For some reason, Bryce Young goes number 1, and the Houston Texans decide they don't want CJ Stroud and they trade out. Then, if I'm the Colts, I'll trade up. I could see that happening, and they go number 2.
So you think it's a wait and see? I said, so you think it's going to be a wait and see kind of deal, or?
Yeah, I think it's a wait and see.
Interesting. You know, I think so. I could totally see that. I can. But I do want to entertain that a little bit. So you really think that if Bryce Young goes number 1, the Texans are going to pass on CJ Stroud?
I
won't lie to you. I think that's a really stupid idea.
I don't think they should either. That's what they're probably going to do based upon the fact that they didn't get the quarterback of their choice.
So do you think they stand pat at number 2, or do they trade back?
If they don't get Bryce Young, they will trade back. And hopefully the Colts will be smart enough to move up and take CJ Stroud.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree, because especially, like you said, if Young goes at number 1, the Texans, decide to trade back, you better be lighting up their phone. But that's just a thought. Because if CJ Stroud's on the board, every team, even teams with like a small quarterback controversy, I think will be trying to trade up. No?
Yeah, if they need a quarterback, they should try and trade up.
Yeah, we'll see. But we won't know. And this is one of those things that I think won't happen until draft day. I think if the Cardinals do trade back, it will be on the 27th. What do you think?
Yeah, I think it's going to be the day of type of thing.
Yeah. Let me tell you something. I hate these trades. You spend all this time meticulously crafting your mock draft, and boom, a trade screws you.
Yeah.
That's just how it is, folks. I don't make the rules. So that about does it for the show. Justin, do you have anything else you want to say or bring up?
Nah, I'm good for right now.
All right, then. So that'll do it for us tonight. Thanks for listening. We have new episodes out on Tuesdays and Fridays about 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel, and we also have all our episodes available on Spotify, Spreaker, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts, and so much more. Also, be sure to follow our Instagram at Fumblerooski_podcast to keep up with our podcast and the latest coverage on the NFL. Otherwise, we will see you next week. Over and out.